Hi, thank you so much for joining me for Pilates All Level. My name is Audra, and today we're going to use just a couple of props. We're going to use the ball and actually a towel. If you don't have a kind of small towel, you can use a pillowcase. You can even use a TheraBand. You can also opt out of any prop at any time. As always, listen to your body. Don't do anything that is contraindicated or feels bad. Always, always, always remember you can modify any way you need to. We're going to begin on our back, knees bent, feet flat, and we're going to bring the towel underneath our head, ball in between our inner thighs. So I like to have the towel like this to start and just rest your head on it. Ball in between your knees or inner thighs, and we're going to start with breath, a little bit of breathing. So bring one hand onto your sternum, one hand onto your low ribs, and we just inhale in through our nose, exhale through our mouth. Couple more like this. And the thing we're really trying to do is notice without judgment. This is a judgment-free zone. So as you inhale, just notice which hand is moving, right? If it's your top hand, that could indicate that maybe your secondary respiration muscles are just working extra hard. And I would invite it to be a little bit quieter and allow for that bottom hand to move more. And then also notice if as you inhale, you're lifting your ribs off the floor or arching, right? That could indicate a little bit of diaphragm tightness. So instead of trying to force your breath, just allow it to inflate three-dimensionally. One more like this. And then bring your hands to the sides of your hip bones. And just as you breathe, try to imagine your bones moving laterally into your hands. And as you exhale, imagine your bones moving towards each other, away from your hands. Because bones move because muscles tell them to, right? So your hip bones aren't going to move a lot, but hopefully you can start to feel your abs engaging just a little bit. We can now layer on the little squeeze of the ball. So exhale, hip bones together, little squeeze of the ball, and relax. Also think of your ribs gently pointing towards your belly button, right? So instead of hunkering down, we're just allowing the muscles to move the ribs a little bit on that exhale, just the opposite of where they move on the inhale. One more like this. And on our next one, we're just going to imprint. So inhale wide, sits bones, point towards the wall. Exhale, belly button through your spine. Let your spine relax towards the ground. Hip bones pull toward your face. Nice imprint. Hold here for a second, check in, make sure you're not clenching your buns, and then rock back. Let's do just a couple more. Exhale, belly button through the spine. Gently rock your hip bones towards your face. Lower back relaxes. Come back. We have just two more. Sometimes, if we have sticky spots on our spine, we tend to over kind of grip to get that imprint, but it's not a huge move depending on the shape of your spine, right? We're just letting the lower back come down, lower back come to neutral, hip bones, pubic bone on the same plane. Last one, hold. Now, you can bring your hands to the floor or keep them on your hip bones. It's up to you. If you tend to really internally rotate through your shoulder, maybe have your palms facing each other. Press your feet into the floor, peel your spine up one bone at a time, coming into your first bridge. Now, this first one is just an investigation, right? See if your weight is on your head or your neck. See if you're lifting from your armpits. See if you feel your low back. If you do, hollow out through the front, tuck your tailbone, press into your feet, and then melt and roll all the way down. On this next one, see if you can allow your spine to peel one vertebra at a time without force, right? It's like you're peeling a sticker off the wall, and then everything is melting. Your throat, your sternum, your ribs, your low back, your sacrum. 2 more. Trying to keep your toes pointing forward. Pushing not only into your heel, but also into your toes. Last one like this. Just gently starting that warm up of your spine. Come back down, and we're bringing our hands into a T or a goal post, making sure you're kind of externally rotating through that upper arm bone, and just let your knees start to go to one side. Now, if you notice that you arched or your ribs popped, see if you can sink them down, and just exhale, drag your ribs back to center. Other side. So if as we move, you start feeling your back doing the work more than your obliques, hollow out through the front, think about your ribs sinking down, then your low back, then your knees come back to center. One more each direction like this. And maybe this is where you stay. Maybe this feels good for your body today. If you'd like to advance it a little bit, bring your legs to your tabletop. Imagine pushing your feet into a wall so your hamstrings and glutes help kick on to stabilize you. And you won't go as far, right? I want you to keep that shoulder down. So if you're going up so far that your shoulder is lifting or your back is arching, make it a little bit smaller. Hold it for a second. Use your breath, squeeze the prop. Now, if you don't have a ball at home, hopefully you can use a pillow. Or you can go without the prop entirely, right? You can have your inner thighs together, squeezing them like you're trying to pop a balloon. And once again, you can keep your feet on the ground. We have one more to the side, and we hold, 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 and drag it back. Other side. We hold, 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 drag it back. Now you can bring your feet to the ground or keep them here. We're going to bring our hands to the little towel or pillowcase. Bring the elbows forward into your peripheral vision. Shoulder blades draw down your back. We're kind of activating our armpits. Push your head back into the towel a little bit to create an easy neck. And then exhale, think about supporting your head with the towel. Armpits help you curl forward. And then slowly lower. Now, if your feet are on the ground, it's going to offer a little bit more stability. And slowly lower back down. Couple more here. Once again, we're thinking of those armpits helping us. So we're finding a little lat, we're finding a little serratus anterior. Still sinking the belly button down. And then allowing the bottom ribs to sink as the collarbones come forward. Now we get to hold this last one up. If your feet are on the ground, push one foot into the ground, float the other leg to tabletop. Then step that foot down, push it down, float the other leg up. Okay? If you're already in tabletop, we're going to march still, but I want you to allow yourself that slow descent of the leg and then still push the foot into the ground. Think of that as a way to help access the back line of your leg. Couple more here. You can even switch your legs midair, but I still want you to push into the ground to find that connection. 2 more. Try not to grip too much through the towel. And bring your legs back either to tabletop or down. Head comes down. If you need to, roll out your wrists in between. All right, we're coming back up and we're going to add rotation. So hold here, feel where your shoulder blades are, and we just rotate one of them off the ground. Come back to center, other side. Now, if you feel more stable with your feet down, no problem. You can also always get rid of the towel, interlace your hands behind your head, still spiral your elbows forward so your shoulder blades scoop. It's the same move. It just has a slightly different focus. Whether the feet are up or down, we're still trying to keep that opposite hip down. So we're just rotating. And then we can add on. So if your feet are down, float the same side leg up as you're rotating towards, right? Trying to maintain your height in between. If your legs are up, you keep that one up. You tap the other one down. A few more here. Starting to get that nice rotation through your rib cage and ab activation. And 2. Last one, each side. Come back to center. Head comes down, but we're taking the towel off or out from underneath the head. Roll the wrists. Let the arm bones relax down to the ground. Okay, so I want you to find this and just notice when they relax down, if the shoulders come up. If they do, just melt them out of the ears without gripping. Now, you can do this just with your hands, or you can add the towel. So arm bones down, not a huge grip, just enough to stabilize. And we're actually going to try to pull the towel apart with our posterior shoulders. Good. Now keeping the ribs down, just let the arms come overhead and then bring it back down. Keeping the tension in the towel the whole time. If your shoulder wants to shrug, think about rotating your armpits forward and maybe don't take your arms down as far to the ground. Couple more here. Now, we're going to bring our legs up to tabletop, and we're actually going to push the towel into the knees, still pulling it apart. Push the knees into the towel. Now push one foot away, and you can actually drag it on the floor if it feels better as the towel comes overhead. Bring it back. So with the towel, the focus is more pulling apart with the hands, and it's more pushing in with the knees. If as you push your foot away, your back starts to arch, right? Keep it closed, maybe bend the knee. Don't take it as far out. Maybe don't take the arms as far overhead. One more. And come back to center. All right, we're gonna do a couple hundreds variations. So bring your feet underneath the towel, or just bring the towel behind your thighs. Shoulders draw down. You can always keep your knees bent. We're still pulling the towel apart, and we're just going to start pumping the arms. Depending on your proportions, Maybe you can have your feet down. That's not really in my wheelhouse. So still keep that breath going. And then you can curl forward if it's appropriate for your body. And you can also push your feet away. Now, with your feet out, you won't get the same size pumping of the arms. That's okay. You can also, once again, keep those feet down. We're going to inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Listen to what your body wants, reaching your fingertips away and pulling the towel. We have 4, 3, relaxing through your neck as best you can, 2, and 1. Hug your knees in. Feel free to rock from side to side. Now go ahead, either just take the towel out from behind your thighs or roll so you can get them out. We're going to reset. Shoulder blades draw down the back, melting out of the ears. Try to pull your towel apart again. Now we curl up and to the side and then back down, up and to the other side. Now we already did a curl like this with the towel behind our head, right? It's very similar, but the difference between supporting the head or pulling the towel apart changes the exercise a little bit. So if one of them doesn't feel appropriate, go to the other one, okay? So you can always bring the towel behind your head or hands behind your head. Still trying to maintain that tension if it feels appropriate. Now, if you're ready, you extend one leg and then head comes down. Extend the other leg. Once again, making sure you're not really gripping the towel that much. The focus is more the pull apart, right? So if your wrists or your elbows don't love this, loosen your grip. And I don't mind if your foot taps down, that's great. You can also extend that leg away again if that feels better for you. We have just a few more here. Relaxing your neck, and if you need to, you keep your head down, right? All you have to do is keep the tension of the towel. It's the exact same exercise. If the foot needs to stay down, that's great too, right? So we have all the options. Option 1, option 2, and option 3. Come back to center, hug your knees into your chest, and rock from side to side. Go ahead, bring your feet to the ground. We're going to imprint our spine, come back to neutral. Walk your feet away from you a couple inches. Imprint your spine, rock back to neutral. And again. Now, as you do this, notice how maybe it gets harder and harder to imprint. That's okay. We're about to do roll-ups. If you cannot imprint at all with your legs fully straight, bend them a little bit. If you need a pad underneath your low back, you can use a gardening pad or this towel. We're going to relax your shoulders. Hands come overhead. We've already practiced this. Now keep the towel apart. Keep that tension. It's like you're trying to tear the towel in half. Look forward. Keep tearing the towel in half as you roll up. Now, if your feet need to be apart or knees bent, that's totally fine. Reach your fingertips forward. Lift your ribs up and away, shoulders down. Now imagine instead of collapsing, you're making an uppercase C shape, like you're trying to hover up and over a beach ball. And then we roll all the way down. Keep the ribs gently drawing in as the arms come overhead. Don't go into a range that feels bad. Still try to pull the towel apart with your shoulders and roll up. Now, if your shoulders are elevating, think about a little external rotation through the upper arm bone. It's okay if your shoulders protract. In fact, if we're rolling forward, we're rounding our back, it's going to be easier for them to come forward, right? If we're trying to keep the C shape and we're retracting, it's a lot harder to maintain and starts bringing more tension into our neck. Couple more here. And down. And last one like this. Good. Go ahead, set the towel or pillowcase to the side. We're gonna grab the ball or pillow and we're gonna pop it in between the heels. Now, we're still doing roll-ups for a few, but to see the difference in squeezing a prop with the legs on the way up versus keeping the tension of the towel, right? Maybe it feels different, maybe it feels the same. Maybe one feels easier and the other feels a lot harder. Of course, you can always use your body to get up. Roll-ups are not easy. And if you feel that you're either falling or you're really struggling to get up, feel free to use a leg. Feel free to use both legs. If today you're just like, oh my gosh, that's too much, roll onto your side to come up and just focus on the rolling down. You can even use your hands to help you, right? Everybody's body is different, and it's going to be different every day. We have just two more. And last one like this. We're going to come all the way up and grab the prop. So now bring the prop behind your thoracic spine. So I'd like it kind of in between your shoulder blades. And if the pillow or ball is really tall, maybe you have to move a little bit one direction. Interlacing those hands behind your head for moral and physical support, and just let yourself relax over the ball. And notice if there's a place you're protecting, right? Sometimes if we have neck pain, we'll never let our neck come into extension, but we need to be able to still own that range. So just notice if all your movement's coming from your lower back. Notice if your movement's coming from your neck. And then see if you can gently allow your whole spine to respond, right? Now nod your chin to initiate. Sink your ribs down, curling your collarbones forward. And then keep your abs engaged because you're defying gravity on the way down. And then you can allow your whole spine to respond. And then nod your chin to initiate, curling forward. If you feel your quads and hip flexors doing a lot of the work, notice if you're trying to pull yourself up from your hip flexors, right? Because their job is hip flexion. But what we are trying to accomplish first is torso flexion, right? And then eventually, if we come up high enough, hip flexion. But we want to incorporate our abdominals so it's not just all neck and hip flexor. Now, we're going to extend one leg out, slide it in, see if you can get elbow to knee. If you can, great. If not, no problem. You can also press your hand into your leg and then back and then curl. Two more. Last one like this, and then we get to switch sides. Step that foot down, extend, extend. Drag it in, maybe elbow to knee, maybe hand to thigh. Maybe you just pause. The floor should be there for a little bit of support, but also a little bit of that hamstring activity. As you extend the leg, instead of just kind of letting it hang out, see if you can initiate pushing it farther away from you, from your abs. If you feel your back trying to do more of the work, keep it in the abs, right? So core, 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 even though we're extended. And then we initiate that flexion from here. One more like this. Now you can get rid of the ball or keep it. We're going to bring our elbows to the ground. Now first, sink down into your shoulders and then push the ground away. So it's like little whack-a-mole. Boop. You're lifting your head. Now bring your other foot up if appropriate. Now you can either tap one toe, exhale, drag it up. Other side. Now, if you need to, you can always adjust where the ball is, forward or back. If you need to, you bring your foot down, right? So you can do a march like this, no problem. Or you can do a march like this. Or as we do this, you can push the foot away. And push the foot away. Instead of just straightening the leg, right, which isn't bad, I want you to think of straightening the leg only as a byproduct, right? You're pushing the foot so far away from you that the knee has no other option than to straighten. 2 more. Looking straight ahead, trying to keep tension out of your neck. Maybe your elbows need to be wider. Right? Maybe you need to take a break. This is our last one. And then bring your legs together. We have options here. First is we just tip our knees a little bit and back. You can also take those knees to the side. If you're like, okay, I'm really going to cut my range, but I would love some support for my head, that's okay too. But just because you don't have the elbows down, it's much easier to fall out of that. So if your hands are behind your head, this is honestly the most advanced version of it. Well, I guess this would be more advanced, but way more advanced, right? It's very wobbly. Good. One more. Now squeeze your inner thighs together like you're trying to pop a balloon. Tap both feet down, float them back. So we're working towards hip circles here, which are a lot of work, right? If as you take your legs away, you're starting to arch, take a break. We have 2 more. We draw our belly button in. Last one, feet come down, head comes behind your head, or hands behind your head, and relax. And we come all the way up. Now you can extend your legs here. Feet can be together or apart, or you can sit crisscross applesauce. And if you have a hard time sitting upright, but you really like the legs extended, you can sit on a yoga block or fold your mat a couple of times. Now, first, regardless of whether we are crisscross applesauce or upright, I want you to notice if you're kind of sinking backwards or if you're able to roll up onto your sits bones. I'll show you from the side, potentially. Okay. So a lot of times if we have trouble sitting upright, we tend to round and then we overuse here. So I want you to roll your hip bones forward and then stack your spine. So if you feel any part of your back overworking, relax it. Slump into it and then roll the hip bones forward. Think about your sits bones. You're pushing your sits bones backwards, okay? If you're crisscross applesauce, you might be like, well, that's really hard to find. But hands can be on your thighs and then back, right? We're not letting anything arch. We're just rocking and then stacking. Last one, rocking and stacking. Good. Now for funsies, we're gonna check our range of motion before we do anything. So just turn your head to one side, see what your neck says, turn your head to the other side, see what your neck says. One more. And then without assistance, rotate to one side, see what your body says, and then other side. Now, what we're about to do, maybe it's going to be like magic. Maybe you're going to be like, I don't know, that didn't do anything for me. And that's okay. Either way, it's just information. So bring one thumb in front of your face. This is very specific. You're going to keep looking at your thumb. Imagine it has googly eyes on it. Keep your chin still. Trace the thumb with your eyes out to the side, pause before you have to stop looking at it, and then turn your face to look at your thumb. Now keep your head right where it is. Bring your thumb back halfway, tracking it the whole time. You got to keep looking at it. Now turn your head to look at it. Now keep your head still, your chin stays still. Track that thumb out to the side again. Hold. Now turn and look. Track it back halfway, hold. Turn your face. Track it back as far as you can, hold, turn and look at it. Now, keep looking at your thumb, shoulder draws down. We're gonna allow the rib cage to rotate now. So you're bringing that thumb back, keep looking at it, and then back to center. Let the rib cage rotate as you look at your thumb. Two more like this. Little rotation here. Don't force it. We're just seeing where we can go with ease, and then we get to do the other side. So keep looking at that thumb, right? It's got those googly eyes. Give your thumb the side eye as it comes out to the side, and you hold, and then you turn your head. Oh, hey, what's up? Drag it halfway back and hold. Now turn your face. Keep your face still. Just watch with your eyes. Hold. Turn and look. And just notice if it's easier to track halfway back with one side, bring it back, or the other. Last time, all the way, hold, keep giving it the side eye, keep looking at it, turn your face. Now, keep that thumb in line, keep looking at it as we rotate our ribs. So yes, we are pulling the arm back, but we're not pulling from the shoulder, we're allowing the rib cage to move. No force. Just allow the rotation. Last one. And then come back to center. Now just turn your head a couple of times. See if you have more range or if it's less sticky feeling. And then rotate to one side. See if you have more range. I have a lot more range on one side and actually a lot more range on the other. Now with that newfound range, we're gonna do spine twist. So shoulder blades draw down your back. Think about reaching your fingertips towards the opposing wall and then lock them in. So we're not just moving our arms, we're reaching them away. Now, our hands move because our spine does. We rotate, hold. See if we can lift a little higher, rotate a little deeper. Come back to center, other side. Rotate, 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 rotate. If your legs are extended, that's great. But if your feet start moving like this, that could indicate that you're starting to rotate from your pelvis as opposed to the ribs, right? So if that's the case, see if you can bend your knees a little, bring those heels down, think about your sits bones making contact with the floor. And they don't need to move. Couple more. Last one, each side. And then relax over your legs and breathe into your back. Come on up, we're coming onto hands and knees. Now, if it doesn't feel comfortable to have your hands on the mat, you can always have them on the floor. You can prop them up on the side. You can be on fists or forearms. Does not matter to me. And we're just gonna start with a little bit of movement. So find your neutral and then sink your shoulder blades together. So you're sinking your spine down the ground, shoulder blades come together. If they came up like mine did, see if you can draw them down just a little. Now push the floor away without overly rounding your back, right? We're just connecting to the floor. And then shoulder blades. And then keep the arms straight, push the floor away. Now, as we do this, I want you to think about your elbow pits, okay? So I don't need you to rotate them so much that your elbows have to bend, but as you draw your shoulder blades together, let them face each other a little bit. And as you push the floor away, let them face forward a little bit. It's not a hyperextension. We're still activating bicep and tricep to get there. It's just kind of like you're screwing in a light bulb in the socket. Unscrewing the light bulb, screwing the light bulb in. Unscrewing the light bulb, screwing the light bulb in. Now we hold this one, whether you're on your fists or your forearms, and I just want you to let your tailbone melt towards the ground like Salvador Dali's clock. Let your hip bones come up. Now your belly button, your low ribs, your mid ribs pushing the ground away. Let your thoracic spine round, glance down at your knees. Now unwind here. So making sure that you're not going into a range that feels pinchy, but we're letting our tail feathers spread wide, our hip bones come forward, ribs, collarbones looking forward. So we're in that full back extension. Now curl the tailbone, lift the hip bones, push the ground away, look down at the knees. And then unwind, widen through the sits bones, let your hip bones rotate around your thigh bones. And then look forward. Now we're just reversing it. So keep your tailbone right where it is. Nod your chin, push the floor away, lift your ribs a bit, and then lower ribs, hip bones, tailbone. Maybe this is the easier way for you. Maybe this is the trickier way. Now keep your tailbone right where it is. Look forward. Collarbones come forward. Undulating down. We got one more. Nod, hollow push. Let your back round a little. Belly button comes up. The whole spine responds. It's like one of those wooden snake toys, right? And then again. Now just press yourself back to your neutral. If you need a break from your hands, press yourself into your rest position. You can roll out your wrists. You can kind of reach one hand forward and then the other hand forward, back and forth. Come back to center. We're coming back into that quadruped. Once again, you can always be on your fists or your forearms. Slide one foot out. Now, think about this knee, ignore this leg, okay? You're just gonna dip that hip bone down a little and then push into the knee, rotate that hip back. So I'll show you from a different angle. It's a little bit tricky the first time. So we're not leaning into this hip. We're keeping our weight structurally over it. We're just gonna rotate a little bit towards it. This hip lowers, and then we push into this knee. This glute activates to level our hips, right? If you have trouble finding it, think about pressing that knee down and out a couple times to find it, right? So once again, we're not sinking into it. We're rotating, and then I'm pushing that knee down and out to find center. One more, down and out to find center, other side. So slide it out. If we shift, you'll feel all that weight wanting to go into that hand. And we dip, come back to center. So we just let this hip rotate a little. We're pushing into the hands. We're finding that oblique connection. We're pressing that knee down and out. Couple more. Once again, it can be a tricky thing because our body wants to shift, but we're trying to keep that weight evenly distributed, letting this thigh bone not move. right? We're letting the hips move around the thigh bone. Last one. Come back to center, knees down, press yourselves into your rest position, rolling out your wrists. Now you have the option of adding the towel for your plank. You can be in a knee plank, you can be in a full plank. If you're using the towel, shoulder blades draw down your back, gently try to pull the towel apart from your shoulder, not your neck. If you need to, start low and then bring it out a little. You can bring your hands onto the towel if it feels appropriate. We're just trying to pull the towel apart a little bit. Slide one foot out, other foot comes to meet it. If you're in a knee plank, instead of letting the hips draw down, you're still hovering, right? It's like there's a candle underneath you. You want to lift your belly button and your hips. And then if you're ready, you can extend one leg and then bend. We have 4, belly button to the sky. 3, 2 more. Last one, knees down, press yourself back. We're coming onto our side and we're starting in this kind of slumber party position, right? So let your shoulder slide up towards your ear and then push the ground away to lift your ribs, making a little rainbow shape. And again, slide it down. Hey, what's up? And then push the ground away, lift your ribs, rainbow shape. Rainbow shape so much that that hip slides away from you. Last one like this. Now, we are coming into a side plank. Maybe this is your side plank, right? This is still a lot of work. Maybe you squeeze your inner thighs together, you press your knees into the ground, and you lift your hips, squeezing that bottom cheek. Maybe this is your knee plank. Maybe you extend a leg. Maybe you extend both legs. Maybe it doesn't feel great for you to be on your forearm, so you come into a hand position. But once again, it's still the same. You're still driving the floor away to lift your ribs, whether you're here, here, or here, right? Doesn't matter. It's the same move. We're going to hold for 3, for 2, for 1. Bend the knees, come all the way down onto your side. And if you like to use the pillow, feel free. Now, just check in, are your ribs sinking down? If they are, lift them as if I'm trying to slide a sheet of paper underneath you, allowing that hip to lengthen away from your face. Now, this knee can be bent for a little bit of support. Less support is a straight leg. All right, we're gonna push this top foot away, and I actually want you to let the foot dangle. And we're just paintbrushing it up the wall a little bit, and then squeegeeing it down. Now, sometimes we get really excited about a big move, right? And if that leg sneaks forward or that hip rolls back, it's not a glute move as much as just lifting the leg, right? So if you can, glance at that foot. I'd really like just for you to be able to see your toes or not see your foot at all, so that it's slightly behind you, just a little bit. Good. 2 more. Last one like this. Hold it up, tiny little squeezes for 5. Hip bones are forward. We're still activating our core. 3, 2, 1. Bring it down. The only thing we're going to change, externally rotate that thigh bone a little baby bit. That's it. Bring it back, paintbrush it up and down. So now the knee, instead of pointing forward, is just slightly pointing up. It's much harder to maintain that pelvic positioning, but you might also feel those glutes a lot more. If you feel something here, that could indicate that those muscles are just real tight, right? We have 3, 2 more. Last one, We're doing small little circles here. So tiny baby circles, focusing on the back for 5. Still trying to stabilize through that pelvis. 3, you can press into the floor if you need to. From your armpit instead of your neck, reverse your circles. Now we are going to then focus on a bigger circle. You can do this with a straight leg or a bent leg. I'll show both. Now, instead of just focusing on the glute, and I'm going to do this with my knee bent for support, we're going to bring that knee forward as much as it can, up to the sky as much as it can, out and around, and down. So we're trying to find that pure rotation in the hip. If as you're doing this, you're kind of moving your pelvis, it's not the end of the world, but you're not really getting that hip to rotate as much in the capsule. If bent leg is too easy, think about straight leg, right? It is going to come up and out and around. It's probably going to feel real different than what we were doing a little bit ago, right? So we're trying to find that whole rotation. And if it's hard to find and maintain, use your hand. Last one, right? So for me, it's kind of hard to find and maintain. So touching with my hand helps. And then we reverse it, right? So drag it back and rotate and up. Once again, you can do this with that knee bent. And just notice if one way is clearer than the other. Right? Last 2. We need to be able to rotate our hips. And if you feel stuck in some points, it's not the end of the world. Just notice what parts feel stuck so you can kind of address them. We're going to the other side. So go ahead, come on up. And if you can be in 90-90, amazing. If you need to have your knees slightly differently or you need to prop yourself up, that's fine. We're going to rotate towards that front knee. And then bring yourself up, relax this hip down. Good, and then rotate. Now relax this hip down, and then if you want, you can rotate towards it. If that feels weird or pinchy in the hip, kind of rock a couple times, see if you can allow it to relax. If you can, amazing. If not, don't go into a range that feels bad. We have one more like this. And then we get to do the other side. So start on that forearm, right? And slide it down. Push the forearm into the ground, lift your ribs, making that rainbow shape. Hip slides away from your face. And again. And then press, lift, hip slides away from your face. Last one, hold. Maybe this is your plank. Maybe you squeeze your inner thighs together and then drive your knees down and lift your hips. Maybe this is your plank. Maybe here. Maybe you want your hand down, but once again, push. Whether you're on your knees, whether you're on your knee and foot, or both feet, it's up to you and your body today. We're gonna hold for 5, 4, 3, and then come all the way down. Go ahead, grab the ball. Once again, you can have this bottom knee bent or both legs extended. Lift the bottom rib, push the foot away, and then let the foot dangle. Glance down, see if your foot is forward or if it's in line or slightly back. That's what we want today. We're just gonna paintbrush it up, squeegee it down, try to find that texture through that inner thigh, pushing it away rather than up, right? So once again, if we're up, we're just gonna go up. If we're pushing away, hopefully that thigh bone will fold. We have 3, 2 more. Last one. Now the only difference is I just want you to external, oh, nope, we're gonna do tiny pulses. I almost forgot. We're gonna hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it down. That's slightly behind you. Gentle external rotation, up and down. Notice it's a pretty small move here, right? If your foot's trying to lead the charge, think about the upper thigh bone rotating and then relax the foot, right? Good, we have a few more. Still keeping the hip bones forward. For 3. For 2. Last one. And then we get to bend this bottom knee if it's appropriate. Bend this knee. Bring the knee in as close to your chest as possible. Lift it up to the sky as much as your body allows, and then bring it back behind you and then forward, right? So just think about that thigh bone rotating in the socket. Don't go into a range that feels bad in the hip joint. If you want to try leg extended, we're not rounding our back. It's the exact same move. We're trying to keep the thigh bone rotating in the socket without our back responding, right? Which can be hard. So we're trying to keep the hip bones and pelvis and spines as still as possible against the range of motion of our leg. Once again, it can always stay bent. And if it feels better, don't even worry about the straight leg, right? Last one, and we reverse. So we press it back. We let that knee come up and around, right? We're trying to find that rotation of the thigh bone in the socket. Maybe you try straight leg. Maybe straight leg feels hard, but you're like, oh, I only feel here, right? But the bent leg, you feel all your muscles. Stick with bent leg, right? Maybe your range is small. That's also fine. We have 2. Last one, let it go all the way back, all the way up, all the way forward, coming into that kind of pinwheel shape. Once again, if it's sticky in the hip, rock yourself a couple times. You're welcome to address the position, okay? We're just rotating towards that knee, bending forward, and then come up. And if it's appropriate, you can then rotate towards this leg, right? So we're still in external rotation, internal rotation. And once again, maintain a position that feels good for you and your joints, right? And we have one more. Coming on to hands and knees one more time. Now, we're just going to shift our tailbone to one side, push our hips towards that heel, come back, other side. So we're just allowing a little bit of rotation and flexion. One more. Come back to center and slide your hips as close to your heels as feels good. Slide your hands in. And then hands can either come behind your head or onto your shoulders, but if they're on your head, I still want your head in line. We're just gonna widen through our shoulder blades, hold, trying to find our mid back, and then back. So I guess mid thoracic, right? So we're looking for in between our shoulder blades here. So if we're here, and you're feeling your neck, draw the shoulder blades down, open your collarbones, right? We're trying to find right about here. If being down is too much work, come up, right? This is fine. It's actually more than fine. It's just not super intense, right? 2 more. Last one. Bring your hands down. Slide one fingertip down, and I want you to roll that shoulder blade open. So if you need to use your hand to do that, that's okay. Now keep your shoulder right where it is. Hand just faces inward. press it back a little bit, flip the palm down, reach it away, and then flip the palm up. Maybe it comes up near your ear. Okay. If you are immediately like, my neck, shoulder blade comes down. If it can't come up here, that's okay. And then we bring it back down. Still keeping that shoulder open and up. Last one. Other side. So if you're here, use the hand, flip the hand. And once you find that nice elongated pec and relaxed shoulder, you can keep it there, just flip the hand in. Palm faces down, reach it out, palm faces up. Right? Think about the shoulder blade coming around the body. And then back and down. Once again, if you need to, you flip that palm and then bring it back. Right? So we're trying to rotate our upper arm bone, but sometimes we need a little help. Last one. Coming all the way back, we're coming all the way to standing. So feel free to press yourself into a downward dog and just start to pedal through your feet. Maybe your knees straighten, maybe they don't, but push the floor away. And then walk your feet towards your hands or your hands towards your feet and just dangle out of your hips for a second. Let your whole spine relax. Nod your chin, yes. And then gently shake your head, no. Now press into your feet, curl, roll all the way up. We're gonna bring heel to toe and just feel where you are. Maybe this is enough balance work today, right? And just feel your feet underneath you. And if you need a little more support, feel free to use your hands on your neck to engage those proprioceptors. Maybe you close your eyes. Just hold for 4, 3, 2. You're welcome to wiggle your hands. And other side. So if you tend to really shift on one side, see if you can bring those hips back to a more homeostasis. And maybe try pushing into the floor. And then you can try closing your eyes if you want. If 2 eyes closed is a little too much, close one and then the other, right? We have 4, 3. If you feel that ankle and foot movement, it's just noise, it's fine. And last one. Open your eyes, feet together, flip your palms to the sky, open your heart. And relax down and give yourselves a round of applause. You were amazing today. Thank you so much for joining me.